we want to paint the bigger picture, I've heard people say that this is a litmus test of political will towards fighting corruption. What really is the government's strategy? What's the NDC's strategy to fulfill this promise of recovering all the loot? I know you met yesterday for the first time. Was that discussed?
Yes, thank you very much. The mandate of oral has to be put within the context of the President-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahamad's anti-corruption policy interventions. Remember that the President-elect during the campaign rolled out a raft of anti-corruption measures to address the canker of corruption. If you look at the Corruption Perception Index, Ghana has stagnated over the last 8 years, and we have been on a decline. Indeed, the best performance of the Akufo-Addo administration is the worst performance of the Mills Mahama era. And so anti-corruption watchers and experts have been really concerned about the declining fortunes in the fight against corruption. And we all know that over the last 8 years, we have witnessed unprecedented levels of corruption and state capture. And indeed, the historic defeat of the ruling party, which is the most humiliating defeat in the history of our country, is a testament to that fact. Indeed, if you look at the exit polls and if you survey Ghanaians, including the latest Afrobarometer, many Ghanaians have concerned that corruption is a major worry. And so the President-elect set out to totally uproot this canker of corruption. And he has said that oral will be a major plank. Now, what oral does, it simply stands for Operation Recover All Loot. We have seen over the last 8 years millions and billions of Ghana cedis which have ended up in the wrong places. As I speak to you, there is a tall list that our team continues to assess and build on of monies that should have remained in our coffers to be used for the development of our country, to be used to, if you like, alleviate the plight of the people. It does not make sense that we'll be going through such economic crisis, such bankruptcy, forcing people to take financial haircuts, denying people their life savings, their life investments. You've seen how senior citizens have had to picket time and time again at the finance ministry because they can't have access to their own money to buy medications. And yet, on a daily basis, corruption and state capture is siphoning our resources away. I can give you a few examples. A gentleman called Carrie Summers of the National Cathedral fame is keeping our $6 million. He was given $6 million to raise funds for the National Cathedral, which should not even have happened in the first place. What happens in fundraising is that when you raise the funds, then you are given a commission. That is the best practice. In the case of the Akufo-Addo government, they just handed over $6 million to him, free money. We have to retrieve that. You have the guys who came from South Africa claiming to have the capacity to give us a sky train. They have walked away with our $2 million. You have another group, some Sh0cks who landed from Dubai and said that they can get us Sputnik V vaccines. They've made away with our $2.5 million. Then you have the Pualugu gang. They have taken our $12 million and we didn't see any Pualugu dam. You have the Ejapa royalty scandal, another $12 million. We don't know what has happened to that $12 million. Then you have the inflated drip project, the single source, highly inflated district road improvement project, inflated by over $100 million. You have the National Cathedral scandal, the mother of all scandals, many have said, where over $58 million has been sunk in a hole. And that $58 million, I have to place on record, is just our taxes withdrawn illegally without parliamentary approval. But that $58 million does not include the private donations that came in locally and internationally. The $58 million does not include the financial loss that has been caused because of all the demolitions, which we will have to pay, taxpayers will have to pay compensation to the owners of all those demolished properties. And I can go on and on and on and on, including PDS and a whole host of others. We cannot sit and watch and allow these monies to remain in the wrong hands. They have to be retrieved, and that is why the president-elect announced Operation Recover All Loot. So our mandate is preparatory because we are in transition. Remember that we have not been sworn in yet. We don't have the full powers of state. So this is a preparatory arrangement to gather the evidence, put all the evidence together, and then when the government has been formed and Attorney General has been appointed, we will then hand over the evidence that we have gathered, the work we have done, what the general public will give to us, and then the Attorney General can hit the ground running. So
what's that
the
president-elect
wants to assure the nation that what he said during the campaign was not just for votes, just so once he gets the power, then that is it. He's not going to carry out a concrete effort, make best effort to recover these stolen funds. So
what's that evidence gathering process going to look like, Honorable? We know from the statement issued yesterday that you're supposed to hear some accounts from members of the public. So I would like you to tell us what will guide that process and what measures you've put in place to protect persons who may not be too eager to reveal their identities if they should have some information that can help the investigation. I'm talking about whistleblowers.
Yes, fortunately, under Ghanaian law, whistleblowers have full protection, and their identity should not be revealed when they don't want to have the identity revealed. And it's a safeguard that encourages people to expose corruption, particularly those who are familiar, those who have good proximity and have the evidence. And so we can assure you, we discussed this extensively in our meetings yesterday, all those who bring us information will have strict protection. Indeed, the platforms we are creating, which we will be announcing later today, our IT team is looking at how to protect the identity. So there is no way that when you submit documents, you present evidence and you want your identity protected. There is no way anybody can hack into the system and then know who is providing information. We are building firewalls and making sure that the system is very, very tight. We have also said that if you want to even present the documents without going through the IT systems, you want to present it physically, probably sending someone or having a dispatch rider or a courier service. We are also going to make that medium available. We are also creating toll-free numbers so that you can call, nobody really know where you are calling from, and you don't have to pay for that call. So we've discussed that extensively, and we want to make sure that we have enough firewalls, we have adequate protection for those who present information. And later in the day, we will be announcing in detail the measures we have put in place to protect whistleblowers and to make sure that the information that is brought is presented in a manner that there will be confidence that this exercise does not become an exercise that will lead to the harming of patriotic citizens who mean well and should rather be celebrated and not, if you like, destroyed just because they want to help our country.
I'm hearing you suggest that this will not just be an in-person interaction. This public the expectation of the public to participate in this process, and that there will be other virtual platforms to have that information coming through. Do those firewalls that you mentioned also involve verification techniques for the kind of documents or any information that you might be receiving, just to make sure that they are indeed factual and credible?
Very brilliant question. So we are conscious of the fact that in this business, you cannot rule out bogus informants. You cannot rule out bank calls. People who may just, be up to mischief and will want to just overwhelm us, so that in the process we probably may lose sight of the more credible and vital information. Because when there's an information overload, when people just dump information on you, then you have to mine, and if you are not careful, you will lose out on critical information. We are conscious of all of those. Those are old tricks in the books that some people use just to distract you and to really divert your focus. So we are putting in place mechanisms. The team agreed yesterday that we should have a small, dedicated technical staff who have a lot of expertise in data management, and we will be looking at all of that. So it's not everything that is brought that will be taken seriously. Certainly there has to be verification, there has to be validation, and on the team you have a crack team, people who really know how to identify authentic documents. People like Ethiopia Kofi Boache, he's gone through the mill. He has extensive training and expertise on matters of that nature. The former Auditor General, Mr. Yadom Levo, also has extensive training in forensics and really assessing documents and knowing whether they are valid or they are just, fraudulent and intended to misdirect and mislead. So there is considerable expertise in the team to look at all of that and make sure that people do not come and mischievous elements don't lead us on a wild goose chase.
Expectedly, I've heard some comments from certain circles from people who are concerned about what this development means for the country. I've heard a question being raised about where you're going to raise the funds that you're going to be using for this process. Are you able to tell us how you're being funded, or how you will be funding this process through the oral route?
Yes, thank you for raising this matter. We discussed this at length yesterday, and the resolution that we passed is that the entire work that we are carrying out, it is an honor to be invited by the President-elect to serve your country, particularly in this, very, very crucial department of national affairs, where every Ghanaian is concerned about recovering assets and recovering resources that we have lost as a country. And so it's such an honor. We are not going to demand any compensation whatsoever. We are working gratis. And so I can confirm to you this morning that the Operation Recover All Loot team will not receive allowances, no per diems, no salaries, no fuel coupons, no remuneration at all. We are working for free. It's a sacrificial effort, and everybody who will assist us must know that this is service for God and country. So there will be no financial implication to the Ghanaian taxpayer, and we give you that firm assurance. Remember that this is a period of transition. We don't even control the resources, the national pest. We don't have access to it. So unless if we had decided that we will demand salaries and then present a bill to the outgoing government or present a bill to the incoming government when they have taken office from the 7th of January. But we have said that we will do none of that from now until our mandate ends, when we hand over our report to whoever the Attorney General will be. It is free service. It's a sacrificial effort. No remuneration, no compensation at all for our work.
That statement that you put on your social media platforms was quite clear on you, all the members of the team, offering their services for free, gratis. It did not, however, mention operational costs. You've mentioned the due diligence that will go into gathering the information and verifying that same is true and credible. Who will cover that aspect of your operations?
So I did indicate in that social media post, and I had the mandate of the team to put that out because members were concerned about some unfortunate propaganda out there. Some people were claiming that they had intelligence that we were going to be receiving 100,000 cedis per sitting and all of that. Very, very unfair. If you look at the caliber of persons coming to serve on this team, they are not people who do these things for self-aggrandizement. You can't say that you want to recover loot and then immediately you start looting yourselves. I mean, so it was most unfair and unfortunate. The whole arrangement in terms of the verification, the validation, the structures we are putting in place is all going to be done gratis. We have told you that we have the expertise to carry out this analysis, to do the assessment required, and fortunately all this expertise is being put at the disposal of the committee by these eminent Ghanaians for free. So we will not be paying any external body or any institution to carry out any of these functions at a fee. Everything we are doing at this point, it's because we really think that the whole philosophy, you are being called upon to help us. This country has been bleeding. There has been a lot of hemorrhage. A lot has been lost. And then the very people who are being asked to come and help us, then you also become a burden to the Ghanaian who is already suffering, who is angry about how so much. Look at what we've lost to state capture. The lands that are gone, the forests, the parks and gardens, and all of that. And then you come and become a burden on the Ghanaian. We think that it will be so unconscionable. It will be such a betrayal. And we discussed this at length yesterday, and we are firmly resolved that we will not add to the burden of Ghanaians.
One of the concerns for many Ghanaians is the length of time it takes for such high-profile corruption cases to travel the length through the judicial system. What measures are you putting in place to ensure that these cases that are considered, that will or may be considered priority, are fast-tracked through the system, and some prosecutions and judgments are made sooner rather than later? What's the guarantee?
This is a very important question, and I think that the president-elect ought to be commended that he's really hit the ground running. Often, politicians will raise matters in opposition, and then once they have the mandate, they forget about what they have raised, they forget about the pledges they have made, and it is only probably midway through their tenure when they are reminded, then they try to do something, by which time a lot of evidence will have been lost, will have been tampered with, and all of that. But in the case of President Mahama, the president-elect, he has hit the ground running. He is not being caught up in the euphoria of celebrations and honeymoon and all of that. He's saying that, look, he doesn't want any of that. He wants to hit the ground running. So the advantage with what we are doing, gathering the evidence, creating the platforms for people, insiders, whistleblowers, to bring, concrete, irrefutable, incontrovertible, unimpeachable, impeccable evidence, is that incoming Attorney General and the other institutions called upon to work, from OSP, EOCO, CID, Sh0cks, and what have you, they will really have no excuse. And we just hope that the judiciary will also play its part.
On that, do you foresee a clash?
Expedite work in this matter.
Honorable Ablakwa, do you foresee a clash of mandates with what you're doing and with what the OSP has been set out to do, and EOCO and Sh0cks and all those organizations that you mentioned?
Not at all. That is why if you look at the statement from the transition team signed by the Honorable Felix Kwachiofusu, it went through a lot of legal consultation, and our lawyers advised us very, very carefully on how the statement should be couched and how our mandate should be couched. So we are just an evidence gathering group, a fact-finding team. We are not usurping any of the legal functions of state institutions. We haven't said that we are now the OSP, or we are now EOCO or CID or Sh0cks or the Attorney General. We don't have prosecutorial powers. We are not going to be summoning or doing a subpoena or attempting to pronounce guilt. We are not going to do any of that. We are just interfacing with the general public. A lot of us on the committee have also done a great deal of work on a good number of these scandals. And so we are conversant, we have the evidence, we have the documents. You know that I've intercepted a lot of documents in these matters. And so we just putting it together. You can call us a conveyor belt if you like, and then we will convey all of what we gather to the appropriate authorities. So there's no clash, there's no duplicity or duplication, and we are making sure that we don't encroach in any of the institutions' mandate.
We are on a continent in a country where any attempt to fight corruption is perceived by some, especially when they are not in office, as a political witch hunt. And historically, it's not the first time an administration has attempted to do something like that. Based on these lessons from the past and what Ghanaians have seen in terms of how corruption has been handled by previous administrations, are there any lessons that we can draw from? And is there an assurance that this indeed will be a legitimate fact-finding mission and not, like some would say, an opportunity for a certain group of people to be witch-hunted?
We can assure you that witch-hunting is not any objective of this group. It's not one of our objectives. It's not part of our mandate. This is not an opportunity to settle scores or to carry out vendetta. Not at all. We are only helping the president-elect, his transition team, with evidence of corruption, of state capture. We are putting the evidence together, and then we hand it over. At this point, we don't know who will be the target, who the Attorney General will decide to prosecute. We are not going to hound anybody. There is not going to be any Gestapo raid. We are only putting the evidence together. We are in a rule of law dispensation, and the nature of our leader, the president-elect, he really abhors any attempt to settle personal scores, any attempt to carry out vendetta, or to engage in witch hunting. I think that the members of this team are too serious and focused people. These are patriots, these are nationalists. And some people have raised that because they say they fear, because a lot of the members of the team have come under some unfair treatment or the other. And their fear is that this may be an opportunity for revenge. Not
a vendetta.
At all. I mean, yeah, not at all. I mean, why should anybody engage in revenge? I mean, as Christians, we know that vengeance belongs to the Lord. It's not for us as mere mortals to engage in that. So we are not petty. We are not going to be bogged down by all of those small-mindedness. We are rising above the fray. We are making sure that maturity is brought to bear, patriotism is brought to bear, love for country. It's just about our country, protecting the assets of our country, protecting the resources of our country. And if we do succeed in retrieving all of these loot, imagine what it will mean for the development, the progress of our country, how we can rechannel those resources into alleviating the plight of our people, in building hospitals, building schools, building roads, addressing social intervention gaps. So that is our motivation. Our greatest joy will be that there have been retrievals and those resources have been rechanneled in reconstructing our country. It's not about personal vendetta, not at all.
Can we hold you to that promise, considering the fact that even the very cases that you've told us about, that you've mentioned, that you've raised concerns about with regard to the National Cathedral, the purchase of the Snake hotels, and the other scandals that you mentioned, PDS and others, there are public officials that have been attached to all these scandals. Why should they not feel that you are coming for them, for the lack of a better expression?
So many people have served in public office. If you served diligently, and remember that the president-elect has been saying that when he left office, he stayed and subjected himself to all kinds of audits, investigations. You remember even the OSP investigation on the Airbus matter. He didn't run away. He didn't cry foul. I also served in government as deputy minister for 8 years. If I had conducted myself in any way that required punishment on sanctions, I'm sure I would not be spared. So when you come into public office, once you do what is right, you serve the people well, you don't take what does not belong to you, you are fine. You will not be worried, you will not be petted about genuine efforts to recover loot. But if you are in another category where you have looted and you have questions to answer, certainly you'll be worried. But in that case, you don't blame those of us who are helping the masses. Because remember that all of these public assets belong to the people. We only go to manage them on behalf of the people. They are just vested in us to manage, hold in trust for the people. So they belong to the people. So it is those who have engaged in wrongdoing, have looted, have engaged in state capture, are in possession of things that they should not be in possession of. They should be worried, they should be concerned. In that case, it's not because anybody has targeted you and is coming after you. But if you have served your people with integrity, you have served them transparently, you have been accountable, you have not, dissipated and siphoned resources and diverted them for your own personal aggrandizement, then you have nothing to worry.
Do you anticipate any challenges in this drive? Political, legal, logistical?
It is certainly not an undertaking which is light and is just easy and a walk in the park. This is an undertaking which is onerous. The expectations are huge, and if you look at the sheer amount of scandals, I mean, this has been the most scandal-riddled government in the history of our country. We are already working with tons and tons of documents. So it requires a lot of effort, a lot of industry, a lot of skill. It are determined to apply ourselves and to make sure that we do not let the Ghanaian people down.
Are you working within any timelines?
Yeah, pardon me?
Are you working within any timelines? Have you set time targets for yourself?
Yes, our understanding is that this is preparatory work, and so we have to hurry about it and make sure that by the time the government is inaugurated and Attorney General is nominated, vetted by Parliament, approved by Parliament, and sworn in, our report should be ready. So we are working within about 5-6 weeks to make sure that we have a comprehensive report ready for whoever will be Attorney General to run with. So we have quite a limited time and looking at the enormity of work, but we are not daunted. We really are up for it. We are passionate, and we're really delighted to serve our country in this regard, and we make a commitment that we shall deliver within the limited time frame.
So 5-6 weeks. Should I take that to mean that after that report is submitted, this committee would be dissolved? It's not going to be permanent?
Certainly, this is not going to be a permanent committee. You notice the statement from the President-elect's transition team said that this is a preparatory work. So you may call us John the Baptist, if you like, just preparing the way. And then once we've gathered the evidence, we put all of the evidence together, make sure that we've interfaced with whistleblowers, with the general public, as much as we can. And we have put together all the submissions and submitted them. Then our work is done. So it's just preparatory, it's just preliminary. And then once we are done with these prelims, the institutions mandated to prosecute, to ensure there are sanctions, ensure that there are actual recoveries, they will then run with our report. And our work is done.